The findings from the organisational study are interesting. Even though the 3 WSD sites were what we call organisationally ready, in the sense that they were picked because they had prior experience of telehealth and telecare, they still found it very difficult to roll out the technologies. And in part that is an effect of the trial itself, the way it was designed, the way it was set up, because they were not only trying to implement technology, redesign services with all the implications that has, they also had to fit in with the requirements of the randomised controlled trial. And that, of course, was hugely challenging. So the organisational findings from the 3 WSD sites are perhaps rather specific. What's more interesting, perhaps, is looking at the other sites where they didn't have an RCT. And the lessons there really are about the need for strong local leadership, the need for champions who can bridge different boundaries within the health and social care system and promote remote care, and of course very good project management. You need to see these implementations as projects with a beginning and an end, and somebody's got to be in charge. So I think that was one of the important lessons. The Whole System Demonstrators programme was set up at a time when we had a great deal of fairly rudimentary evidence. There are something like 8,000–9,000 published studies which told us something about the impact of remote care on quality of life, something about clinical outcomes for certain conditions, not very much about the economics. And back in the year 2005, 2006, when the WSD was first discussed, there was a real need for more robust evidence. Now, I think WSD has done an amazingly useful job in exposing what can be done with large-scale trials, where the gaps are. It's telling us something about the kinds of populations that might potentially benefit. It's telling us something about the possible impact on the healthcare and social care system. But I think really it's only a start. And one of the issues I think we need to address now is how those potential benefits unfold over time. WSD was a short snapshot in time, and I think we're going to find that the real benefits are actually, we become aware of those over a much longer period than we were able to look at them within the WSD programme. So more longitudinal work, more modelling to look at how things might unfold under different scenarios. I think all that's needed now. The weaker points in the evidence base are probably, particularly around the Telecare side, I think. Telecare is out there anyway. It's been around for 20, 25 years in various forms. One thing that's interesting in the WSD findings is that it's not at all clear what difference Telecare is actually making. We know people like it. Clearly it's an insurance policy. It's an electronic security blanket around people who might be vulnerable. But actually determining how it affects their use of social services and the health system, and which groups of people could most benefit from integrated telecare, I think still needs quite a lot of thought. So I think that's one area I'd highlight for more work. I think we also need to have a much better understanding of at what point people can most benefit from telehealth. Is it when they've just been diagnosed with a long-term condition, but actually may not want it, or is it later on in the evolution of that condition, when the risks may be higher? So we know we're beginning to find out a bit about that, but I think that is one area where I'd focus more attention. I think we're never going to get the perfect evidence on which to base decisions about investing in telehealth. Often evidence is used as a way of stopping change, and my concern is that telehealth is being held to a much higher standard of proof than many other types of health service innovation or intervention. So yes, of course, we need to be clear about who it benefits most. We need to make sure that you're not actually doing harm to people. But equally, I think we shouldn't use a lack of evidence as an excuse for not trying things out, for not experimenting, and not being innovative. So yes, evidence is important, but let's not use it as an excuse for inaction.